This episode is sponsored by Bow Lake, the most beautiful paddle boards in the world. Visit bowlake.com and learn more. That's B-E-A-U lake.com. Bow is French for beautiful. B-E-A-U lake.com.
You're listening to The Luxury Item, the podcast on the business of luxury and the people and companies that are shaping the future of the luxury industry. Here's your host, Scott Kerr.
The global wine and spirits industry is on the brink of transformation thanks to the rise of blockchain technology and NFTs. By leveraging this revolutionary digital ledger system, businesses in the sector are able to improve their traceability procedures and authentication processes, helping them provide consumers with a high-quality product. While the initial frenzy around NFTs, as witnessed in 2021 during the crypto bull run, have subsided, innovation around Web3 continues unabated. One 2-year-old company that is shaking up the global luxury beverage industry is BlockBar, which positions itself as the premier NFT marketplace for high-end wine and spirits. BlockBar already has partnered with some of the biggest wine and spirits brands in the world, including Diageo, LVMH, Pernod Ricard, Remy Cointreau, Bacardi, and others. My guest on The Luxury Item is Jamie Ritchie, Chief Operating Officer at BlockBar. Ritchie is a highly respected industry veteran who joined BlockBar earlier this year. He brings a wealth of experience to the startup company from his more than 32 years of service at Sotheby's, where he was worldwide chairman of the Wine and Spirits division. Ritchie is notable for having launched Sotheby's wine auctions in New York, Hong Kong, and France, as well as its spirits category. He led the commercial success of the wine and spirits portfolio, which saw revenues rise to $132 million US. He was also instrumental in driving the company's record-high auction sales and holds the records for selling the most expensive bottles of both wine and spirits. Welcome to The Luxury Item, Jamie.
Thank you, Scott. Great to be here.
Thank you so much for joining me. So BlockBar just turned 2 years old, and it was a pretty early adopter in the NFT space. When it launched, it positioned itself as the world's first direct-to-consumer NFT platform for luxury wine and spirits. So with that in mind, I think a great place to kick things off is to share with my listeners what real problems in the luxury wine and spirits market did its founders see that they felt blockchain and NFTs would solve.
So I think the main purpose of BlockBar is to provide increased transparency and traceability in the sale of high quality wines and spirits. And so during a traditional distribution system, essentially the bottles of wines and spirits go from the producer to the consumer via a various channels of distribution where they're opaque. And so what BlockBar does through the use of blockchain is to use blockchain to provide a guaranteed in 3 areas: guaranteed provenance, authenticity, and condition. And so when the BlockBar is a direct-to-consumer platform, so the NFTs are minted directly from the producer and go directly to the first consumer, and through the BlockBar ecosystem that is maintained. So essentially, it provides assurance for the first purchaser or any future purchasers that the bottles did come from that producer, that they are authentic and they are in good condition because they've been stored perfectly. So essentially, that was the transparency and traceability is what BlockBar was set up to create. Yeah, the traditional system relies upon obviously people doing the job that they are supposed to do,
right,
but there's no visibility into it. There's no transparency. And so one has to trust and assume that everything is good. So BlockBar, and blockchain brings traceability and transparency to the process that everyone can understand and see. And so the advantage for producers is that they'd like to know who purchased their bottles or casks. They like to know who owns them today, and they like to know who consumes or redeems them. And blockchain enables that to happen.
So who are some of the 22, I think it's 22, it could be more by now, luxury spirits and wine brand partners that BlockBar has in its portfolio?
So BlockBar is obviously founded out of the principles behind Duty Free Americas, which is a $2+ billion business selling mostly spirits in airports and 253 duty free stores around America. And so their relationships really were mostly with the largest spirits brands. So whether that's Diageo, Moet Hennessy, Bacardi, William Grant, Remy Cointreau, etc. So most of the releases that have happened from BlockBar have been around the spirits area. Whether that's Hennessy, Remy Martin, Ruinart, Patron, Glenfiddich, Penfolds, etc. And so in different categories, obviously Scotch whiskey has been super important, tequila, cognac, rum, mezcal, champagne, different categories that's been sold on BlockBar.
So is your pitch to brands primarily focused on the advantages of blockchain as it relates to counterfeit prevention and quality control?
That's certainly one part of it. I think the fact that it is a DTC platform is really important. So producers want to understand who their consumers are, and consumers want to have a relationship with the producer. And so during traditional distribution channels, that has been essentially kept apart. So there's always intermediaries in between who are separating the two. Our aim as part of the transparency and traceability is to actually link the two. So we're a direct from producer to consumer channel. And I think that's the most important element of it. The traceability and transparency is certainly critical, because that gives the confidence to the marketplace once it happens. But I would say it's twofold. I think the producers and the consumers want to have a relationship together.
So how do buyers and investors go about trading their NFTs or burning their NFTs and redeem the physical bottle directly?
So once you've purchased an NFT, so an NFT is an asset-backed NFT. So rather than just a digital NFT, obviously the value of the bottle or the case or the cask behind it is the value of what it is. Once someone's bought an NFT, they can do 4 things with it. They can just store it and just keep it. They can gift it to someone else anywhere around the world. They can sell it on the BlockBar marketplace and sell it, and as many people can sell it as they want in the future, and or they can redeem it. So redeeming it means taking possession of it. So they request to take possession. We burn the NFT and we ship the bottle, etc., to where they prefer. We can ship to about 38 countries at the moment.
So over the last 2 years, what have most people been doing?
So it's interesting, because one of the things, I'm obviously relatively new to BlockBar. I've only been with the business for about 4 or 5 months.
Right.
And I was actually surprised to learn when I joined that around 30% of what is available to be redeemed has been redeemed. And I think that's a pretty healthy amount, because it's important, people produce wines and spirits for them to be consumed. And because consumption is an important part of the ecosystem. And I think that's a healthy percentage.
Aside from young crypto enthusiasts and liquor or wine collectors who don't have a place to store their bottles, who do you see as the target markets for BlockBar?
So I think BlockBar's evolved. Obviously, in order to buy an NFT, one has to be somewhat comfortable with being digitally savvy. Mm-hmm. So the main part of the audience for BlockBar are millennial and Gen Zs, and that's 90% of the audience and 70% of the purchasers. In terms of the evolution of the platform, I think, initially, obviously, there are many people focused on the crypto world and then the NFT world. I think now what we're seeing digitally savvy people wanting to collect and buy and enjoy wines and spirits in a different way to the way previous generations collected. So I would see this as primarily as a collector site. Collectors buy for different reasons. They buy to consume and enjoy. They buy to build a collection which involves consumption and probably an understanding that maybe they're not going to consume all they buy. And then there's some people who buy for investment. And so I think it's a combination of the three. And most people do do either two of the three or three of the three. And so I see our business as being primarily a collector business, focused on a younger generation of collectors.
BlockBar's first year of business saw like $7 million in sales and about 300,000 users. You just closed the book on year 2. What kind of growth did you have?
So the growth was really been in expanding different categories and different producers and different brands that are interested in it, and also growing the audience both geographically and demographically. And so the customer base has grown pretty significantly. It's evolved, obviously, in terms of who it is, and what are they wanting to do. And the number of producers who are engaged with the site and who we're talking to is also evolving. And I think traditionally it's been focused more on the larger producers. I think we're expanding it to different niche producers who are doing interesting things. So I think BlockBar is an innovative site, which is sort of a new channel of distribution. And obviously we're working with innovative people, both in producers who are new to the market, and also innovative people who are with producers with traditional producers, but doing innovative things with them.
One of the advantages of blockchain is that brands can share a wealth of information with their consumers. While there is a great value in end-to-end visibility, the data on the blockchain cannot be changed once it's established. There can still be human error or intentional misconduct in inputting the initial data onto the blockchain. How do you prevent inaccurate or fraudulent data from the brand being entered on the BlockBar?
Well, so I don't think any brand who we would work with would intentionally put fraudulent data on the blockchain. So working directly with the producers, I think, is the best way to avoid fraudulent information. Because producers don't want to deceive their clients, and so I think where you introduce blockchain later in the distribution channel, I think that's a challenge. But I think coming directly from producers is the essence of having the greatest integrity. And obviously we work together with the producers to make sure that any of the information we're putting on the blockchain is 100% accurate. And only when it's been approved by both sides do we publish it. So I'm pretty confident about the accuracy and integrity of the data which we publish.
Before joining BlockBar in April, you had an amazing career. You were worldwide chairman of the wine and spirits division of Sotheby's. You were with Sotheby's for an eye-popping 32 years, where you excelled as an auctioneer and a leading authority on wines and spirits. So what attracted you about BlockBar's business model?
So I think BlockBar has the business model of the future. I think it is, I was super interested in it while I was at Sotheby's. I thought it was innovative, but essentially, at Sotheby's for 32 years, every single week, we were concerned about authenticity and provenance. Mm-hmm. And we dealt with it on a daily basis. The idea of having a system whereby everything can be transparent and traced, that you can be assured of the provenance, the authenticity, and the condition is an amazing thing. And so I think for any new releases coming directly from a property, then that has a great validity and value. I also think that wines and spirits, in the traditional model, they move around the world, and then a bottle may be sold to Sweden and then go to America and then go to Asia. And each time there's a transaction, the physical bottle has to move. I believe that going forward, wines and spirits should move less, and they should be stored close to their production, and then when they're ready to be consumed, should be shipped to the consumer. And so that's more environmentally friendly, and it's more friendly for the condition of the wines or spirits. And so I believe that that's going to take place in the future, and starts really now with BlockBar. And so we intend to keep the wines and spirits close to the source of production, and only ship them. And they can change ownership multiple times until they're ready to be consumed, and when they're ready to be consumed, they get shipped. So I believe the benefits of that of the platform and the concept is has great validity. And so obviously you don't leave Sotheby's after 32 years without giving it considerable thought, and I gave it considerable thought, and I think the model is extraordinarily valuable and valid going forward, and is a model for future distribution.
We'll be right back after a quick break with more of my conversation with Jamie Ritchie.
Bow Lake and Rocky Shore. I will return once more. Yes, I will. Boom, diddy boom boom. Boom, diddy boom, boom boom. All right.
The world's most beautiful paddleboards. Bow Lake. The water is calling.
We're back with more from Jamie Ritchie. You know, the pandemic really changed the way the wine and spirits trade does business, including accelerating the move to online selling. You saw firsthand at Sotheby's how fine wine and rare spirits at the auctions became more dynamic online and attracted new and younger audiences. Was that shift an eye-opening one for you?
Sure. I mean, during the pandemic, and when I was at Sotheby's, we had no choice. We couldn't convene an audience in a traditional live auction format. And in order to maintain sales and revenue, we had to very quickly transition ourselves to being an online-only platform. And that took persuasion from both the sellers, encouragement for the buyers. And the digital tools that were developed very swiftly enabled buyers to participate in the auctions from anywhere using their phones. And so that the pandemic enforced everyone to train and be trained with the new tools. So I think you've got a unbelievable a number of people who can now transact very happily using their phones. And it is the future. And so actually in a traditional auction environment, it's very difficult to get people to come and attend an auction because they're so well trained. Right. So I think wines and spirits, whilst it's our business, it's our clients and consumers' passion, their fun, their interest. So you've got to keep them engaged and interested. So I think, in fact, holding events where they can come and participate and engage is very important going forwards.
So since you started, how has BlockBar leveraged your unparalleled wealth of experience and knowledge to grow the business?
So I obviously have a long experience in working with highest value wines and spirits, and we're working on creating a sustainable and scalable platform for the future. Mm-hmm. And so that is using different sales mechanics. So how you sell, how you price. So there's obviously fixed price, and we sell first come first serve, or through a ballot system, or in terms of variable pricing, you can use traditional auction method, you can use sealed bid, you can use leaderboard technologies. So is using different models for different applications, which is very flexible. You can think about selling costs or fractionalizing costs or progressively fractionalizing costs. So I think the younger generation enjoy the concept of gamification around what are they doing, and if we can add that to the enjoyment of collecting wines and spirits, I think is super interesting. So if you take progressive fractionalization, you could fractionalize something over a period of time into different fractions. So I think there are different ways in which you can use the technology to engage people, and I think there's also, obviously BlockBar has been primarily a spirits business to date, out of duty-free Americas. And now, obviously, my background was mostly in wine, and so we'll be looking to introduce different wine producers to different wine categories, and we're working through how do we do that in an interesting and engaging way.
I know you've been there since April, but has your perspective on the business changed at all?
I mean, I think I've learned an awful lot about the business, and I understand it. After 4 months, a whole lot better. My perspective, in terms of the opportunity, And the reason why it was founded and exists has not changed at all. I think my understanding of the potential of it and what we can do with it, how we use it, how we use different pricing mechanisms, how we can grow the audience, how important it is to find new audiences. I think one of the things that's interesting for me is, the boomers are aging out. They're consuming less. There's weight loss drugs that are affecting consumption.
Right.
And the younger generation, which are very important, there's more abstinence, there's more consumption in moderation, there's a number of different competing factors, whether that's marijuana and mushrooms, whether it is RTDs or increasingly sophisticated non-alcoholic drinks. So I think going forward, the wine and spirits business needs to find and engage with younger consumers. And younger consumers think and collect in a different way to their previous generations. Experiences are important. They want to feel a relationship with the producer. They want to feel that the relationship with that producer aligns with their values in terms of sustainability, environmental natures, etc. So I think it's a very, very interesting time whereby there's lots of dynamics going on in the evolution of the drinks business, and is not a straight line forward, and people need to think in a slightly different way about how the future looks for them.
So a couple of years ago, you partnered with Glenfiddich Scotch Whiskey around a Chinese New Year NFT, and most recently in September, Glenfiddich released a 30-year-old limited edition Scotch whiskey called Suspended Time on BlockBar. Can you talk about those joint ventures with Glenfiddich and what success have they seen by embracing the direct-to-consumer NFT marketplace?
So working with Glenfiddich have been one of the biggest supporters of BlockBar, and all the releases that BlockBar's done with Glenfiddich have sold out. Glenfiddich's been introduced to a younger audience and a much more global audience. So it reaches, BlockBar by its nature is a global platform, and it reaches a global audience, which is in places whereby traditional distribution doesn't necessarily reach. So they're reaching a group of consumers they've never been able to reach or target before. Each one has been extremely successful. So we're luckily we have a great relationship with them, and we're working on some fun and interesting things for next year.
Yeah, and you sold a $130,000 Midleton whiskey NFT in like 2 seconds after going live on your platform. So what went down there?
So I mean that was a lot of fun. Obviously it was the pinnacle vintage. It's extremely rare, one of the first Irish whiskey available on BlockBar, and it was obviously it was unique in what it was. It got a lot of publicity and PR. There was a tremendous demand for it. So obviously, one of ones are very interesting. They are by their nature very, very rare. Or one of one is one of one. And so in that situation, you've got something which is exceptional, rare, unique, and obviously attract a lot of PR, therefore, and subsequently a lot of demand. And we're working on something interesting with them going forward as well.
So does that investor still own the NFT?
They do. They still own it. It has not been sold and has not been redeemed.
So as you well know, the wine world has historically been opaque due to complex supply chain. Consumers are increasingly looking for, verifiable provenance and assurance that the wines they purchase meet their expectations from where the bottle is coming from, the producer, its history, how it got there. How do you think the wine industry will benefit from Web3 technology?
So, I mean, I think it comes back to the transparency and traceability. I think, the wine and spirits business, wants and needs it, if you like. Through traditional forms of distribution, which are still very valid, because if one wants to buy and consume a bottle today, one needs to be able to get access to it. In the highest quality wines and spirits, when they're not necessarily ready or desired to be consumed immediately, then having verifiable provenance, condition, and authenticity is extremely valuable. So I think where Web3 technology comes in is providing that traceability and transparency throughout the process, and giving consumers the confidence that they know what they're buying, they're going to get what they're going to get exactly what is described, and it's going to be in perfect condition.
So I was taking a look at BlockBar's active marketplace, and it's heavily dominated by a variety of high-profile whiskey brands. But the only wine brand listed was Penfolds, which I know has partnered with BlockBar on a few NFT drops. It seems like such a natural fit with the wine industry and the world of NFTs. This concept of scarcity, of provenance, really matters to both industries. Is gaining traction with wine partners more challenging for BlockBar?
I don't necessarily think it's more challenging. I think wine producers and spirits producers do think differently. The reason BlockBar's mostly been offering releases from spirits producers is because the founders were from Duty Free Americas, which is 99%
Right.
spirits. And so their relationships were with the spirits producers, and that was sort of the reason they were founded, was to primarily look at the spirits business. Obviously, my background is in wine primarily, and so I've been looking a lot at the wine business. So, and I say the two differences are spirits are produced every single day, 365 days a year, and they may be laid down for 10, 20, 30, 40 years. And so, the producers are thinking about future markets. How are they going to sell? How are they going to grow their marketplace? Where are they going to grow their marketplace? Who's going to be their consumer? And wine producers are producing something which is unique to the vintage from that specific plot of land every single year. So they tend to, right now they're thinking, okay, I've picked my last grapes. I've got a good crop or an abundant crop of good quality or high quality in the winery. Now let me think about selling it. So I think they approach things in a different way. They have a different perspective and a different time horizon. And so, because of that, I think that they do, they do understand and think differently. And so I would say that we are going to start introducing wine as a category next year, and we're thinking about how do we innovate around it, how do we create an interesting platform for wine that is not just retail. And if you're what I don't think is valid is attaching an NFT to a retail product. That doesn't solve anything for anyone. So we are sort of certainly blockchain led. We use the NFT as the token, as an asset-backed redeemable token, and then we'll present wines and in the innovative way that the BlockBar's already been presenting spirits.
What are some of the interesting ways your brand partners have leveraged the community aspect of NFTs, like offering exclusive access to events, allocations, and other benefits?
Yeah, I mean, so I think as we mentioned, the consumers want to have a relationship with the producer, and through smart contracts you can engage and encourage different sorts of behaviors. And so I think experiences. The Dalmore had a dinner for the buyers, and one person flew from Australia to attend that dinner. And so there's different ways you can encourage behaviors. I think experiences are very, very important. I think you have different events around the world, whether it's tastings, dinners, at wineries, distilleries, different cultural events. So I think there's a lot to do in that area. I also think that with as I mentioned, with different sales mechanisms, with gamification, you can do different elements. There was the BlockBar did the first community voted bottle design with Johnny Walker Blue Label and Vandy the Pink. So I think there's lots of interesting ways in which you can engage consumers to participate using different technologies.
We're also seeing the rise of fractional ownership-backed NFTs. It's a novel method for individuals to gain exposure to different assets without having to invest the amount of capital required to own the entire property, art piece, or casks of spirit. Is this an area BlockBar is exploring?
Yes, definitely. I think fractionalization is very interesting. For me, I'm sort of less interested in fractionalizing a specific bottle, because a bottle's got to be consumed. And how do you sort of fractionalize that in an efficient way whereby it gets consumed, in an easy and enjoyable environment? I think the fractionalization around casks and barrels is very, very interesting, because obviously you can, when it gets bottled, you can subdivide it easily, and you can enjoy it. And I think progressive fractionalization is another thing whereby it is very interesting. So I'm a strong believer in the fractionalization of different things, but primarily where it ends up, whereby someone can still take possession and enjoy and use it, rather than have a shared value with an undetermined end.
So looking forward, what role do NFTs play in the future of the luxury beverage industry?
So an NFT is the token, and the token that enables a swift, speedy, interesting, an efficient transaction. I think the key for me is, in fact, the fact that the business relies upon blockchain. And the blockchain technology is probably the best inventory of record system today. And then it's a direct-to-consumer marketplace. So it's the combination of using blockchain to validate and verify the provenance, authenticity, and condition, using the NFT as the token to have a very efficient transaction that's immediate and certain. And then applying that to the wine and spirits business, which are both multi-billion-dollar businesses, and global in nature, and becoming much more global in nature. So I think that for me is like, blockchain is going to grow. I think the wine spirits business is going to grow, or both of them are going to grow. So I think it's truly scalable, and is a new distribution channel that will start off as a slither of the distribution pie, and then grow to, we'll be interested to see how far we can grow it globally.
Data has shown that Web3 concepts such as NFTs and the metaverse are showing less than stellar adoption, and the collapse of FTX and other major Web3 token projects hasn't helped build confidence in the space. What's your strategy for introducing more consumers into the world of Web3 and expanding wine and spirits collecting and investing to the masses?
So obviously, cryptocurrencies and NFTs have had their sort of den in the sunshine. I think at the end of the day, crypto is going to evolve, stronger and better for it. In terms of NFTs, the challenge has mostly been around the values of digitally native NFTs, which aren't asset backed.
Right.
And so I think, the fact that the BlockBar NFTs are asset backed, sort of, the value of the NFT is the value of the bottle or the case or the cost behind it. So I'm not worried in any way around the values of the NFTs that BlockBar sells. I think it's the value of the asset. In terms of cryptocurrencies will fluctuate. You can pay by using a credit card. You can pay in US dollars, and so we sort of have that area covered. In terms of the sort of the future evolution, I think obviously digitally savvy people understand that the NFTs are asset backed. They understand the value that is offered. They understand that they don't need to take possession of it. They can build a collection and have it, and have BlockBar store the property. They understand the storytelling. I think BlockBar offers a great platform for storytelling about different releases from different producers in a fun and interesting way that talks to the audience. I think the elements of the sale releases and the mechanics and the gamification is also sort of super interesting. And then the experiences that you can offer, directly from the producers. So we want to encourage the consumer and the producer to have a relationship together. So I think a combination of all those things means that the younger audience will want to engage in this way because it's fun, it's interesting, and it's assured.
So, Jamie, my final question is the luxury item question, which I ask all my guests. So if you were stranded on a deserted island and you could only have one luxury item with you, one single luxury item, what would that luxury item be? It can't be any form of air or water transportation to get you off that island or anything that requires mobile service so you can call somebody to get you off that island. It's just you on this island, lots of trees, lots of sand, lots of oceans. You are deserted on this island. What would that one single luxury item you would like to have with you?
Can it be a cellar of wine?
Sure.
Okay, I'll take that. That's going to keep me going every morning, lunch, and dinner. Every day. Well, I would love a wine cellar with lots of one of the great things about wine is all the different wines from different grape varieties, different regions, different vintages, etc. So for me the variability, the variations, the selection that you make is the most interesting. If I'm confined to one region and one wine, it's probably white Burgundy because you can drink it for lunch, for dinner. It has the same complexity as red. But much more versatility in terms of when you're likely to drink it. But it's wine gives a huge amount of pleasure by the variety of what is offered worldwide. So that would be I want the widest parameter I could possibly have.
Jamie Ritchie, Chief Operating Officer at BlockBar. Thank you so much for joining me on the luxury item.
Scott, it's a pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
That's it for this episode of the Luxury Item Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. If you found this useful and entertaining, I would be really grateful if you can share it with a friend or colleague. I would love it if you subscribe so you never miss an episode. And while you're there, be sure to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. It really helps other listeners find us. The Luxury Item Podcast is a production of Silvertone Consulting. I'm your host, Scott Kerr. Until next time.